standing, that usually gets quiet. Good evening, all. I'm Adam Weinberg, the Alice Pratt Brown Director of the Whitney Museum, and I want to welcome you this evening to the 2014 Bucksbaum Award presentation. This is the 8th presentation of the award. This is the closest the Whitney gets to the Academy Awards. The award is given every 2 years to an artist from the biennial whose work demonstrates a singular combination of talent and imagination. And this exhibition will be the first, actually, for the Bucksbaum Award winner, the first exhibition of an artist who's won the Bucksbaum Award in the Whitney's new building. In addition to receiving a $100,000 grant, Zoe will work with us in presenting an exhibition in the new building, which we're very excited about. Previous winners of the Bucksbaum Award include Sarah Mitchelson, Michael Asher, Omer Fast, Mark Bradford, Raymond Pettibone, Irit Batsri, and Paul Pfeiffer. But tonight, as much as a celebration of the Bucksbaum Award, it's also a celebration of all 103 artists who are in the biennial. So all the biennial artists, I was going to have you stand up, but maybe you should all sit down. But all the biennial artists, raise your hands if you're here. I just want to thank all the biennial artists. And I also want to, and there are a lot of other artists in the room, so do me a favor, all the artists in the room raise their hand. Please. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's the greatest tribute of all. And also, I just want to call your attention to the fact on the image board there is we have images of all of the artists' works who were in the biennial. I want to thank Melva Bucksbaum, who has been a long-serving trustee, who has been head of our Painting and Sculpture Committee, on our Nominated Committee, Executive Committee. She's been on every committee the Whitney could possibly invent. And in fact, I think we'll have to invent some new committees because we're running out of committees for her. But beyond that, her vision and support, both of the Whitney's collection and building the collection, and actually, and particularly the collection of women artists, has been extraordinary. But she is also, together with her family and the Martin Bucksbaum Family Foundation, created this award, which is, I think, one of the unique awards in the visual arts field. I also want to acknowledge her amazing husband, Raymond Learcy, who has been a trustee now, I think, for 36 years, who together they've built an extraordinary collection and a great partnership. And I am truly blessed to have the two of these amazing people as trustees on the board of the museum. The Bucksbaum Award inspires and supports creation at its highest level. The Bucksbaum family's commitment to creativity not only supports emerging artists, it ensures their legacy for generations to come through their leadership of funding of the Whitney's Conservation Department. And in fact, last night, Melva was given the great honor by her daughter, Mary Bucksbaum Scanlon, of naming the head of conservation in Melva's name. So Melva is both forward-looking and looking at how do we conserve what is there. So it's a doubly great week for Melva. But the Bucksbaum Award, and the statement on it is, it's for an artist whose work demonstrate a singular combination of talent and imagination, and a person who has made or promises to make significant contributions to the visual arts in the United States. And this year's awardee has made and is making, and no doubt will make, extraordinary contributions to the visual arts. I want to thank this year's Bucksbaum jurors, Chief Curator and Deputy Director for Programs, Donna DeSalvo, who's right over there. Our biennial curators, who I would like you to identify yourselves. If you could raise your hands, Stuart Comer, Anthony Elms, and Michelle Grabner, all here. I see Stuart, I see Michelle, and Anthony is up here and will speak in a moment. I want to also acknowledge Michelle Crow, Editor-in-Chief of Art Forum International, who was on the jury, and Nancy Spector, Deputy Director, and Jennifer and David Stockman, Chief Curator at the Guggenheim. And I love that this award is not just an award given by the Whitney, but is an award that really represents a range of support from the entire field. So tonight, we are delighted to honor Zoe Leonard, the recipient of the 2014 Maker. This is Zoe's third biennial. Her work was included in the 93, the infamous and now famous and celebrated Whitney Biennial, and the 1997 biennial. The Whitney's been collecting Zoe's work since the early 90s, and she is really well represented, we're very proud to say, in the Whitney collection. The first piece, which entered the collection, was acquired in 1992 as a great piece called Frontal View, which the photography committee acquired, and I believe it was one of the pieces in her great installation in Documenta way back when. Am I right, or was it related? No, not, Adam got it wrong. Okay, it was like the ones that were in Documenta. Okay, you got to get me out of this one, Zoe. Thank you. But I do know one of my favorite pieces in the collection is the Faye Richards Photo Archive, which we acquired in 1997, which is truly a masterpiece, which we're very proud to have. And also, Thea Westreich and Ethan Wagner, who have donated their collection. We're doing an exhibition of their collection, which will also be presented at the Pompidou Center, have donated a number of Zoe's works as part of that gift. Zoe has also been in numerous exhibitions. She was represented in the Blues for Smoke exhibition with a great piece. Got that one right. Collecting biennials, Signs of the Time, Full House Views of the Whitney's collection at 75, which Donna DeSalvo did with a full curatorial team, The New City, Suburban Recent Photography, and several others. I just wanted to do one quick shout out. Elizabeth Sussman, who couldn't be here tonight, the Sandra Gilman Curator of Photography and Curator, who was a dear, dear friend of Zoe's and a huge supporter. She's on a jury in London and couldn't be here. She has worked with Zoe for 2 decades, really disappointed not to be here, and she asked me to send personal congratulations and say that, you know, the thing that she most prizes is the way that you collaborate so well with and openly with curators, and with her, and as you did with Anthony Elms, and doing your extraordinary piece in the biennial. So for this biennial, Zoe transformed a section of the museum's 4th floor gallery. I'm sure you've all seen it, with the great signature Marcel Breuer window, which literally cracked 4 weeks before the opening. Totally unrelated, which I think Zoe, at least I took it for a sign that this was a piece that needed to happen, because the piece wouldn't possibly have been as good if you had to put the lens on the window. Instead, we lost the window. So that was Zoe. It's, I think, a really extraordinary and haunting piece, and it's a very touching piece, because this is a much beloved building, and a building that I have spent actually 18 years of my life working in, and as have many of the curators here, a building that we really prize, and it's a wonderful way of talking about the change from this building to the move downtown, the ephemerality of life, and the ephemerality of art in many ways. But I just wanted to say, you know, Zoe has once said, the inverted landscape outside of the camera obscura is not a photograph. It is not an object. Rather, you are inside the camera, and it becomes a space for observation and contemplation. Zoe, it is an honor to observe, contemplate, and now recognize the great work you have done. Bravo. Congratulations. But I would now like to introduce one of the biennial curators, Anthony Elms, who is the Associate Curator at the University of Pennsylvania's Institute of Contemporary Art. He's an artist, a writer, worked at the Renaissance Society at the University of Chicago, and just a really great guy. And he's going to say a few words about Zoe.
Hi. I guess I'm supposed to speak about Zoe, but I have to speak first that I couldn't even be here talking about Zoe without the graciousness of both Stuart and Michelle, because a piece like Zoe's doesn't happen just because one person wants to put it in a room, but it really takes a lot of effort and a lot of buy-in by other people. And so I really respect the graciousness with which they allowed this piece to happen, but not just allowed it, but actually, you know, supported it and made it able to be the piece that it is. So I thank them for the opportunity and for giving me free reign, sort of, like in a way. And it's also like I kind of wish I could be up here speaking about all the artists, because part of the wonderfulness of doing a group exhibition is making a social space and making a social connection between many artists and many people. And so it's strange to call out Zoe, like as wonderful as her piece is, it's so wonderful to have her in a mix with so many people that mean something to her and so many people for whom she means something. And it's a great moment to be able to sit there and think about that as the show comes to its final days. That is a rambling preamble. Maybe I will say that I've been a real lover of Zoe's. Like when people say that I worked at the Renaissance Society, I had some semi-glamorous jobs there, but one of my main jobs at the Renaissance Society was as a preparator and hanging the exhibitions. And I have distinct memories of Zoe's show there in 1993, which was one of the first times I was at the Renaissance Society. And through my work at different galleries and different museums, not as a curator, but as a preparator, I've had my paws on many of her prints. And it was always a pleasure to handle her work. Not that it feels particularly different or anything, but it's always work that actually stopped me and actually work that made me sort of think for a minute and work that actually, in something which was decidedly a job and decidedly a job that was long hours and sweat inducing. And it's partly what made me, once I was asked to be a curator, start asking her to be in shows and in things that I was involved with, because like this was work that had always, even as a job, had always sort of stopped me and made me take time. And it meant a lot to me because like two mantras that I kept thinking as I was putting together the works that I included in the biennial were thinking of the phrase, it's always so like more interesting or more important to like make time rather than to mark time. And also that moments to remember are just like other moments. And I kept thinking like Zoe's like photography, it's not simply that she makes great work, but it actually makes us look and notice what it is to spend time with things, what it is to have time documented, what it is to have time not documented, but just run as you spend time with it in the rooms, and that actually asks you to be with something as you are. And I'm not a photography scholar by any means, but I've always remembered something Wolfgang Tillmans said in a lecture, which is photography tells you nothing about what's in front of the camera, but everything about who's behind the camera. And I think that's certainly true of Zoe's work, and it's true like in her like activist work that she's done, in her writing and in her like work as it is. But it also, like her work, it's not just about her, but it reminds you that we are in social spaces, in public spaces, and that we are ourselves in a room and in a space that unfolds around us, and in a space that's made of other people, other identities, other sort of histories, and that we meet these on a one-to-one basis sort of every day and make our decisions based on these sort of interactions. And I thought about reading an email that she sent me. Okay, I will. Adam says yes. So, I'm an easy touch. You can push me over the edge in no time flat. This is the email that Zoe sent to me. Like, we had been trying to meet together to look at spaces and to look at the windows in the building. And she wrote me an email the day after. Like, we walked through and tried to figure out what spaces might have enough light and which windows could possibly work. And when we determined that the window on Madison Avenue was the only window that could. And the email started almost with a phrase that I could never get out of my head, because I think it's like it actually implies something more than just like the genericness of the statement. The more I think about it, the more I feel this is the way to do it if we are to do it. And like I've always loved that statement because it actually implied like it's not just about choosing, but it's like that there's a rightness and a wrongness to a decision. But then I love the fact that she went on to say, because of location, because of the window, because of the avenue, and the way it is canted to offer a diagonal view across the grid of the city, an utterly riveting perspective. The northwest orientation offers a beautifully lit situation, the buildings, the street, the passing traffic and pedestrians, illuminated for the entire course of a day. All the other windows in the building are on the north side, over the much darker side street, 75th Street. These views are not only darker, They are more contained and far more domestic in nature. Minimal traffic, these views are smaller in scale and only look at the facing building. It's closer to a kind of still life. I feel these views are less in keeping with the site and its meaning as a public space, a museum in the city, and with strong architectural presence of the building. And when I read, this is just the opening of the email, and the notes that the architect of this building wrote say that, what does it mean to build a museum in Manhattan? And immediately, without ever having seen those notes, Zoe came here and knew the space and felt the space. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm up here jabbering in honor of her. And so I have to thank you for your time, thank you for your attention, and just thank everybody else for having allowed this piece to happen.
I'm looking out at this crowd tonight, and to me it's like shock and awe. I remember the first Bucksbaum Award, which was year 2000. We maybe had about 40, 50 people here in this room. And to look at this tonight, you're all here for Zoe, for the Bucksbaum Award, and for this wonderful institution. And if you look at this building across the street, that is what the camera obscura is showing you upstairs on the 4th floor. The other day, I was up there, and a group of children, probably 1st or 2nd grade, were sitting in there, and the teacher was questioning them, and they just got it. They understood exactly what the camera obscura was doing, and they were in it. And it was just, Zoe, it was such a treat to see those children and hear them describing, oh, that's upside down, and they just, and the cars are moving, and they were just absolutely fascinated by it, and they were thrilled with this piece of art. And I just want to thank all of you tonight who are here, friends, family, peers, and I think Raymond Pettibone is in the audience, one of the Bucksbaum Award winners from a few years ago. I spotted him as we came in. But as you know, I am Melva Bucksbaum, Vice Chairman and Trustee in the Whitney Museum. And on behalf of the Martin Bucksbaum Family Foundation, I'm really proud to be standing here today. And when Adam shared the news with me that Zoe Leonard was to be the recipient of the award, I was absolutely thrilled, as I deeply admire Zoe as a person and as an artist. And coincidentally, her work was included in the first installation at the Granary, our little building that we have up in Sharon, Connecticut, back in 2009. And we have been fans of her work for years, which make this year's presentation even more special. And I had a private conversation with Zoe just before we came up here, and the reason for this award is to make a difference in an artist's life, and I know for Zoe it's going to make a difference in her life and in her work. The Bucksbaum Award grew out of a desire to honor an artist in the biennial and give them the unique opportunity to push the boundaries of art making, and Zoe certainly has done that. Since the early 90s, when Zoe made her debut at Documenta 9, she has done just that, and I look forward to experiencing where her work will take her in the years to come. And it is now my great pleasure to present the 2014 Bucksbaum Award to Zoe Leonard.
Thank you, Melva.
You're welcome, dear.
Oh my God. Hi. Hello. Hello. Oh my goodness. Wow. Hello. I was, kind of thinking, like, the only analogy is like the Academy Awards, and I was like, do I want to be one of those really elegant people who's just like, thank you, and goes away, or one of the other kind? So those who know me already know I'm the other kind. Making art is an intensely private and internal process. At the same time, we bring work out into the world, and it lives out here in public space. Looking at art offers a similar, multiple kind of experience. We may view it in public, but it gets to our most private selves. The work happens inside our minds and in concert with our emotions. The way I see it, art is our space. It's our time. It's our conversation. It's our open field. Art is where our internal selves and our social selves cohere. It's where we can be fully who we are in our complexity and contradiction, in our politics and our philosophies, in ugliness, anger, joy, wonder, and confusion. It's a present-day experience. It's our common endeavor. It's what all of us in this room do together, the making and the looking. Art is a field connected through conversation. Ideas are developed by looking at another's work, by talking, reading, and listening. And I'm really not kidding when I say this, because I look at Sarah Mitchelson, and it was while watching Devotion that I first thought about making that room into a camera. I love that piece. And I also, oddly, the window seemed to break right after Mitchelson was here last time. So I feel like, thanks for the handoff, Mitchelson, in every way. Truly, truly. And Devotion was an incredible, incredible artwork. So we make art and we view art as part of a community of ideas and words. This is what I've been thinking about these last 10 days since I found out about this award. I'm thrilled and overjoyed, more than you can know, to be singled out. But I also know that my work comes out of the richness of all this other work around me. Art is generous, not because it's soft or easy, but because it's expansive and complex, searching and irreverent, because it troubles the waters and realigns the status quo. So I'm truly deeply indebted to everyone here and all artists and curators and everyone who's in this for all the work that you do. That said, there are a couple of people I just have to thank. Melva, wait, there you are. Hi, Melva. We just met tonight. Thank you so much for your extraordinary generosity. This award is a stunning gift. It's not only a substantial gift, but it's thoughtful. Like Melva thought about what works for an artist. It's incredibly generous in every sense of the word. Anthony Elms, hello Anthony, hiding by the column. Anthony invited me to make this work and has been an incredible collaborator throughout. Thank you so much for your insight and your patience, your rigor and your thoughtfulness. I love that you read that. And what he did after reading my email to him, he sent me an email back and he's like, hey, you might want to read this. And he sent me a scan of Breuer's original proposal for the building. And we were like, the language was so in line, it was incredible. And I knew right then we were like off to a great start. That was over a year ago. And although the gesture of putting a lens in a window is a very simple one, it was so complicated to make that happen in this building. And Anthony was just kind of quietly in my corner every step of the way. Thank you. Stuart Comer and Michelle Grabner, as Anthony already said, but thank you so much. You were so incredibly generous and supportive with me to allow me to have this project take shape on the 4th floor. And you both just sort of acted like I was one of your artists too, and I felt so completely embraced and supported and respected, and it was great to get to know you better too, so thank you. The project required a crazy collaboration and input from every single department of the museum: curatorial, art handling, construction, painting, engineering, security. I basically met everyone who works in this building. And by my install was supposed to be 4 days. By week 3, I would come in and everyone was like, "Hey Zoe, so how's it going? You think you might finish today?" So thank you to every single person who works at the Whitney. Thank you especially to Elizabeth Sherman and Mamie Tinkler, who kind of oversaw the nuts and, whoever was like, woo, yeah, the two of them actually got the biennial up on the walls and made it happen. And thank you to Adam Weinberg for, he just, Adam sets this amazing tone. I want to thank every single person by name, but we would be here for a really long time. But the shorthand of it is that Adam sets this incredible tone that is warm and serious, that is thoughtful and respectful. The people here really listen to artists and help you make your best work. And it's also really friendly. What director of a museum comes down, says hello to everyone who's working by their name, and then gives you a big hug on their way out? I was like, yeah, that's the director of the Whitney. Thank you, Adam. I have to thank the galleries I work with. Gisela Capitaine, who's supported me since 1989. She couldn't be here, but Regina Fiorito, her right-hand man, is here. They really have stuck by me through thick and thin, and they were present through all of this. Thank you to Murray Guy here in New York. They were really also wonderful and committed. And to Raffaella Cortese from Milan. And also to Jonah Gronebor, who joined us this year. Jonah, so sweet and cleaning the lens. Amazing. So lastly, two lastlys. One is every artist in the biennial. It was so great to spend time with your work. It was kind of overwhelming in this, and again, I want to say names, but it's just going to be terrible because for every name I would say, there's 40 others. But really, so many people working across boundaries, across mediums, really a deeply inspiring group of artists. And every artist in the world, actually, thank you. And lastly, what's that? There was actually one Academy Awards where the person just thanked everyone they'd ever met, and I kind of think that's brilliant. But one last thing is, I want to thank, he's not here, but I want to thank Marcel Boyer for this building. It's such an incredible building, and the Whitney has had such a great run here. The clarity of his vision and the way he materialized it is a real inspiration. So thanks, Marcel.